You are surrounded by fools, and it is draining every ounce of your energy. You believe your intelligence is your greatest strength, but that is exactly what makes you weak. Society keeps telling you to be patient, to explain yourself, to find common ground with the ignorant. Schopenhauer saw through that lie centuries ago. Logic is completely powerless against stupidity. Trying to reason with a fool is not kindness, it is self-destruction. There exists a hidden, almost cold-blooded method for neutralizing the willfully ignorant. A system the most feared minds in history used to silence fools without ever handing them the truth. Once you grasp this principle, no lesser mind will ever steal your energy again. The trap you keep falling into. Here is the painful truth that nobody around you is willing to say out loud. Your intelligence, the very thing you have spent your entire life building, sharpening, and relying on, is not your superpower in this situation. In this specific battlefield against this specific type of person, it is your greatest weakness. And the worst part is, you do not even realize it is happening until you are already drained. Every single time someone opens their mouth and says something completely embarrassingly wrong, something shifts inside you. Your brain lights up like a machine coming online. You feel the pressure begin to build in your chest. You cannot help it. Your mind starts organizing automatically, sorting facts, arranging evidence, constructing the perfect logical sequence that will make everything crystal clear. You build the argument carefully. You choose your words with precision. You deliver it calmly and clearly, certain that this time reason will land, and they stare at you, not with the look of someone processing new information, not with the expression of a person reconsidering their position. They stare at you with the blank, unmoved face of someone who heard noise. And then, as if you said absolutely nothing at all, they open their mouth and repeat the exact same wrong statement they made before. Louder this time, more confident, more certain than ever. You walk away from the conversation exhausted in a way that sleep will not fix. Your mind keeps replaying it. You start questioning your own ability to communicate. You wonder if you explained it poorly. You wonder if you missed something. You quietly begin to question your own sanity. What you just experienced has a name. It is called the intelligence trap, and it is specifically designed by circumstance to catch the sharpest minds. Here is what is actually happening beneath the surface. You are projecting your own mental operating system onto someone whose mind is fundamentally built differently. You think in logic, in evidence, in cause and effect. You naturally assume the person across from you operates the same way. They do not. They live in emotion. They think in feeling. They move in instinct. It is not a debate you are having. It is a translation error. Two completely different languages colliding, and you are the only one at the table doing any real cognitive work. Arthur Schopenhauer identified this trap centuries before modern psychology had the language to describe it. He wrote something that deserves to be permanently fixed inside the mind of every thinking person. People do not argue to discover truth. They argue to win, to dominate, to protect the fragile architecture of their ego from the threat of being wrong. Truth is irrelevant to them. Victory is everything. Read that again slowly. Let it sink into every layer of your thinking. Because once you truly internalize that single sentence, you will never waste another year of your energy the same way again. Why logic fails every single time. Before you can protect yourself, you need to understand exactly why the tool you trust most completely stops working the moment you walk into this specific kind of conversation. It is not bad luck. It is not poor delivery. It is structural. It is biological. And once you see it clearly, you will never unsee it. Daniel Kahneman, one of the most respected psychological researchers of the modern era, spent decades studying how the human mind actually makes decisions. What he discovered dismantled every comfortable assumption we hold about human rationality. He identified two distinct systems operating inside every human brain. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional, and instinctive. It reacts before it thinks. It feels before it reasons. System 2 is slow, deliberate, careful, and rational. It weighs evidence. It considers multiple outcomes. It updates itself when new information arrives. Here is the brutal reality you must accept. Difficult, irrational people do not visit System 2. They do not take occasional trips there. They do not even know the address. They live permanently, completely, and comfortably inside System 1. They experience an emotion and immediately attach a belief to it. That belief hardens instantly into what they call a fact. No data will soften it. No evidence will penetrate it. Because evidence is a System 2 instrument, and you are attempting to use a System 2 tool on a mind that has never once operated in that mode. You are trying to install software on hardware that was never built to run it. Then psychology layers another cruel reality on top of this through the Dunning-Kruger effect. Research consistently shows that the less a person actually knows about a subject, the more unshakably confident they feel about it. Genuine expertise produces doubt, nuance, and awareness of complexity. Ignorance produces absolute certainty. But the truly devastating part, the part that closes every exit, is this. The very cognitive skills required to recognize incompetence in oneself are the exact same skills that incompetent people fundamentally lack. They cannot locate their own blind spots because the blind spot covers the mirror entirely. The fortress does not just defend itself, it makes itself invisible to the person living inside it. So when you arrive with your carefully prepared logic and your organized evidence, you are not perceived as someone offering clarity. You are perceived as a direct threat, a threat to their confidence, a threat to their identity, a threat to the entire internal story they have built about who they are. And a threatened ego does not pause to evaluate incoming data. It does not sit quietly and reconsider. It attacks immediately, instinctively, with everything available. Every counter-argument you present signals to them that their position is significant enough to be challenged. Your visible frustration confirms to them that they have real power over you. Your energy, your time, your emotional investment all become proof that they matter. Without realizing it, you are delivering exactly what they were looking for from the very beginning. The strategy that actually works. So what do the most effective minds actually do? They stop fighting. They weaponize agreement. Schopenhauer's most ruthless technique was not a sharp counter-argument. It was reduction to absurdity. Instead of challenging the fool's premise, you agree with it completely and then accelerate it to its logical, catastrophic conclusion. Someone insists that anyone could create great art. You lean in, you nod. Absolutely. Let's quit our jobs today, buy some paint, and be millionaires by Friday. Why are we even here? Watch what happens. Their own argument collapses under their feet. They suddenly need nuance. They start arguing against themselves. You never raised your voice. You never lost your composure. You handed them the rope and stepped back. This requires killing one thing inside yourself, the addiction to being right. Intelligent people are deeply, almost chemically addicted to having their correctness acknowledged. Schopenhauer would call this the ultimate stupidity. Why do you need a blind person to validate your vision? When you release the need for their recognition, you become untouchable, protecting your mental energy. Stupidity is contagious. This is not a metaphor. It is neuroscience. Cognitive load theory confirms that your mental bandwidth is strictly limited. When you repeatedly engage with irrational people, your brain works overtime trying to predict their unpredictable behavior, suppressing your own frustration, walking on eggshells. This sustained drain degrades your own decision-making. You become irritable. Your creative thinking narrows. You start making poor choices. You are not just losing an argument. You are losing your edge. Schopenhauer was famously private. People called him a misanthrope. But read his actual words. He did not hate people. He was simply ruthless about protecting his mental diet. He described what is now called the Porcupine Dilemma. Porcupines huddle for warmth in winter, but their quills hurt each other, forcing them apart. Too close and you bleed. Too far and you freeze. The intelligent person must master this precise distance. You cannot eliminate these people from your life entirely. They are your colleagues, your managers, sometimes your own family, but you must establish a psychological boundary. When forced to interact, you send an avatar. polite, agreeable on the surface, interesting perspective. I see what you mean. Give them nothing to attack. Your real mind remains protected behind a wall of calm detachment. They believe they are winning the conversation. Let them. The illusion of victory is the cheapest thing you can give a fool to keep them quiet. When the fool has power over you, this is where it becomes genuinely dangerous. When someone of limited thinking acquires authority, their entire identity is built on a fault line of hidden insecurity. They sense, on a primal level, that sharper minds surround them. They do not respond to this by growing. They respond by eliminating the threat. If you walk into their space and display your full intelligence, you are not proving your value. You are holding a mirror up to their inadequacy, and a frightened person with power will shatter the mirror before admitting what they see. Schopenhauer wrote that displaying outstanding ability in the presence of mediocrity is, to them, an unforgivable act. They will not attack your thinking directly. They will attack your personality. They will call you difficult, arrogant, not a team player. They will use the machinery of the system to quietly isolate you. History offers a perfect example. Sima Yi, one of the most brilliant military minds of ancient China, found himself serving under Cao Shuang, a regent of enormous power and poor judgment. Direct confrontation meant death. So Sima Yi did something extraordinary. He faked complete physical and mental collapse. When Cao Shuang sent spies, they found a trembling old man spilling soup down his robes, confusing names, barely able to speak. The regent laughed. He felt superior. He stopped watching. He stopped worrying. The moment Cao Shuang left the capital on a hunting trip, Sima Yi rose from his supposed deathbed, executed a swift military coup, and seized the empire. Cao Shuang paid with his life because he believed the performance. Sima Yi understood what you must internalize today. Intelligence is not something you display. It is something you conceal until the precise moment it delivers maximum impact. When dealing with a powerful but limited mind, feed them the one thing they are always starving for, the feeling of superiority. Ask their opinion on small, unimportant things. Let them correct you on minor details. Thank them sincerely. You are not surrendering your intelligence. You are administering a sedative. You trade a small scratch to your pride for complete freedom of movement, the compassion trap. Now let us examine the darkest reason you keep engaging. It is not just about being right. It is that you feel sorry for them. You believe that if you could just make them see clearly, their life would improve. If you could show them the flaw in their thinking, they would be saved from a costly mistake. Schopenhauer called this the arrogance disguised as empathy. You have cast yourself as the rescuer of those who never asked to be rescued, who do not want to be rescued, and who will fight you ferociously for trying. The Dunning-Kruger research confirms the cruelest truth. The profoundly incompetent lack the very cognitive tools needed to recognize their own incompetence. They are not trapped in their fortress of false confidence. They built it deliberately. It is warm inside. It shields them from a complex world they find terrifying. When you try to drag them into the light, you are not healing them. You are invading their territory, and they will respond exactly like a cornered animal. Look honestly at your own life. The friend who is always financially struggling but will argue economics with anyone. The family member who creates constant chaos but insists they are always the victim. How many years have you spent applying logic to these situations? How much of your own energy have you spent? They have not moved a single inch, but you have aged. You have grown tired. Your empathy has been quietly funding their stagnation. Schopenhauer believed character is essentially fixed. People rarely transform their nature. They only change their circumstances. Accepting this is painful. It requires what feels like emotional surgery, looking at people you care about and accepting there are ceilings you cannot push them through. You stop trying to upgrade them. You start managing them. Like complex machinery, you keep your hands away from the moving parts. You respect the safety boundaries, and when the machine breaks down, you do not argue with it. You simply shut it down. what freedom actually looks like. When you finally stop fighting, something completely unexpected happens, not gradually, not slowly over weeks of practiced discipline, but almost immediately. The moment you genuinely release the need to correct, to convince, to be understood by someone who was never capable of understanding you in the first place, something physical shifts. The exhaustion that has been sitting in your chest like a stone, the kind that sleep never fully touches, quietly lifts. The frustration that followed you out of every pointless conversation that replayed in your mind at 2 in the morning simply dissolves. Not because the people around you changed. They did not change at all. They are saying the exact same things, making the exact same errors, holding the exact same flawed positions with the exact same unshakable confidence. Nothing about them is different. Everything about how you receive them is. You watch the same people perform the same patterns, and instead of the familiar heat of anger rising in your throat, you feel something entirely different. A quiet, almost clinical stillness. A calm that does not come from indifference, but from genuine understanding. You begin to observe the cognitive biases operating in real time, right in front of you, as clearly as watching weather move across a landscape. You see the ego recognize a threat and immediately raise its defenses. You see the emotional reaction arrive before any thought has had a chance to form. You see the conclusion appear first and the justification constructed around it afterward. The entire mechanism becomes visible to you, transparent, predictable. And here is the turning point that changes everything. What is predictable can be managed. You are no longer a participant inside their chaos, swinging between hope and frustration, investing yourself in outcomes that were never going to arrive. You are the observer. You are standing outside the storm, watching it move, understanding exactly how it works, completely untouched by it. This is not coldness. People will coldness. Let them be wrong about that too. This is clarity. This is what it feels like when your perception finally aligns with reality. The complete settled understanding that your energy is a finite and deeply valuable resource, and every single unit of it spent on someone who has committed themselves entirely to their own limitations is a unit stolen directly from your own potential, your own growth, your own life. Schopenhauer did not arrive at his famous solitude by accident or by bitterness. He arrived there through clear observation. He warned explicitly that a person of genuine intellect who chooses to spend significant time in the company of limited minds will eventually, inevitably, be pulled toward their level. This is not a metaphor. The mind is not separate from its environment. It mirrors what surrounds it. Feed it triviality long enough and it begins to think in trivialities. Surround it with noise and it loses its ability to access silence. Guard your mental environment the way you would guard anything in your life that is both irreplaceable and impossible to recover once lost. This means becoming genuinely, deeply comfortable with being misunderstood. Not performing comfort while secretly aching for validation, but actually releasing the need for their approval entirely. The people you are pulling back from will not respond to your distance with quiet respect. They will label it, they will call it arrogance. They will tell people you have changed, as though change in this direction is something to be ashamed of. They will interpret your refusal to enter pointless arguments as a sign that you have finally run out of answers. Let them construct that story. It costs you nothing. Consider this image carefully. You're walking through a hospital ward. The patients inside are unwell, their perception of reality distorted by their condition. As you walk past, several of them point at you and insist that you are the one who is sick, that your thinking is disordered, that your behavior is the problem. Do you stop walking? Do you pull out documentation to prove your health to them? Do you sit down and spend the next hour constructing a careful argument for your own sanity? No. You keep walking, not because you are cruel, not because you do not feel anything, but because you understand clearly that their diagnosis of you is a product of their own distorted lens, and engaging with a distorted lens on its own terms produces nothing except your own exhaustion. The world operates on this exact principle, simply at a much larger and less obvious scale. When someone limited dismisses your idea without genuinely engaging with it, that is not failure on your part, that is confirmation. Confirmation that the idea exists at an altitude their current thinking cannot reach. When they read your composed silence as defeat and celebrate accordingly, they have done nothing except reveal the ceiling of their own perception. Your silence is not emptiness. Your distance is not weakness. Your clarity is not coldness. It is freedom, and it was available to you the entire time. Intelligence is knowing you are right. Power is achieving your objective while they believe they won the argument. The truly effective minds in history did not stand on stages dismantling opponents with clever rhetoric. Look carefully at those great debates. Nothing is ever resolved. The opponent never concedes. The audience simply cheers louder for the side they already supported before walking in. It is theater. It is performance. It produces nothing. The architects of real change did not seek applause. They built while others argued. They poured concrete while others debated whether concrete was necessary. They gave the loudest people in the room a small distraction and then quietly shaped the outcome from the background. This is the final understanding. You accept the world as it actually is, driven by emotion, hostile to nuance, and deeply resistant to truth. You stop trying to fix this. You stop mourning it. You learn to navigate it. When you understand that people move based on ego, you gently steer them using their own ego. When you understand they cannot be reached through logic, you use their emotions as a compass. When you know they hunger for validation, you offer just enough to keep things functional. You become the invisible architect. They experience every decision as their own. They feel entirely in control. But the parameters within which they make those decisions were quietly designed by you. This is where intelligence becomes something far more useful. Not a badge you wear, not a weapon you wave around. A quiet, sharp, concealed tool, drawn only when it delivers the precise result you need. You arrived here exhausted. You thought you needed a better argument, sharper evidence, more persuasive words. Now you understand. The solution was never a better argument. It was releasing the need to argue at all. The moment you stop requiring understanding from minds that are not built to provide it, the weight disappears. You watch the same people behave in the same ways, and instead of being pulled into it, you simply observe it, manage it, and move past it toward everything you are actually here to build. Your intelligence is no longer a gift you hand out to people who do not value it. It is a weapon reserved entirely for your own ascent. Keep it sharp, keep it quiet, and protect it from everyone who was never worthy of it in the first place. If this hit differently, if something in here described exactly what you have been living through, subscribe right now. Every week, I go deeper into the psychology of power, influence, and how exceptional minds navigate a world that was never built for them. You are clearly not like the others. Act like it.